What you're looking at right now is not a picture of some distant galaxy. No, you're looking at a map. Specifically, a map of the internet and its various connections around the world. The internet has had one of the most significant impacts on human civilization in the last century. It allows people to interact with one another while sitting across from each other or while across the globe. It has revolutionized industry in its entirety, and it has changed the way we live our lives. 2 years ago, a former NSA contractor, practically all of mankind remembers the September 11th terrorist attacks, and many Americans recognize that day as a turning point in the way the United States government functions. What many people don't realize is the impact those attacks still have on society today. Initially due to the effects of the 9/11 attacks, an executive order known as the Patriot Act was signed into law by former President George W. Bush and recently renewed by President Barack Obama. This act opened the door and paved the way for the current issue that several United States citizens face to this day: surveillance. Specifically, surveillance at the hands of government agencies like the NSA, which has been working with corporations such as Google and Facebook, essentially bullying them into cooperation in order to collect as much data on as many people as possible. But it doesn't stop there. 2 years ago, a former NSA contractor named Edward Snowden came forth with various documents he obtained while working at the NSA. These documents contain information on various programs used by the government, including the hotly debated programs XKeyscore and PRISM. When Snowden released these documents, he immediately handed them over to news publications, including the Washington Post and The Guardian, allowing them to expose the truth of what goes on behind closed doors. Agencies such as the NSA have been working on ways to harvest and monitor internet data directly. Recently, government agencies have been demanding that internet service providers give full access to their data centers and networks, allowing the government to snoop around at the root of internet traffic. When these ISPs won't provide this kind of access, agencies often take the liberty to tap directly into network lines, which are often located at the bottom of the ocean. This gives agencies and their analysts access to the raw data itself before it reaches anyone else. Through these various wiretaps, the government has gained the ability to monitor practically anyone at the push of a button, and often in real time as well. In fact, Snowden himself provides a very simple, yet honestly scary, example of the monitoring capabilities of the NSA.
Now, increasingly, we see that it's happening domestically. And to do that, the NSA specifically, targets the communications of everyone. It ingests them by default. It collects them in its system, and it filters them, and it analyzes them, and it measures them, and it stores them for periods of time, simply because that's the easiest, most efficient, and most valuable way to achieve these ends. So while they may be intending to target someone associated with a foreign government or someone that they suspect of terrorism, they're collecting your communications to do so. Any analyst at any time can target anyone, any selector anywhere. Where those communications will be picked up depends on the range of the sensor networks and the authorities that that analyst is empowered with. Not all analysts have the ability to target everything, but I, sitting at my desk, certainly have the authorities to wiretap anyone, from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
Arguably, the worst part of this whole situation is that the NSA actually stores all of the data they intercept in centers such as this, even if they don't access it. This gives them the ability to go back and review any data they may or may not have obtained at any point in time at their own discretion. All in all, this entire situation is really rather frightening, both for individuals and larger businesses. People, individual human beings, can access practically any digital information online if they so desire, and use it for whatever purpose they please, whether it be personal vendetta or some kind of corporate espionage. Recently, Denny Miles, the manager of IT communications and corporate security for Southern Star Central Gas Pipeline Incorporated, was quoted in an interview stating the following.
You have to be careful that the information that's being stored out there about each of us doesn't violate our civil liberties.
Right.
And so once it's out there, once it's stored, you really don't have any kind of assurances that someone isn't going to use it for bad things.
Right.
Use it in an improper way.
All that remains is to decide whether or not the government is justified in their actions. As this video draws to a close, please consider the following.
It's like we've worked for 2 entire decades developing something that gives each of us the ability and access to express ourselves as individuals. What happened to our freedom? It seems like this is yet another force field the government has inflicted upon us to enable more control, more power. Why do we have the least of the say? Why is it that the uneducated of the internet are the ones calling all the shots? The ones that don't understand the concept of the World Wide Web. Each and every one of us is a product of the internet. The internet is a product of us.